I can't hear anything.
Yellow warbler whistles in the wild oak tree with a field full of crickets chirping harmony and a big bass bullfrog singing songs of love. Bumblebee buzzing on black-eyed Susan. Susie's looking shy, but she ain't refusing. Hummingbird approving, singing songs of love. And the whole world's spinning round songs of love. And I'm just beginning to be aware of the music you wake inside my heart, like the warmth of the summer sun.
You're on, Dr. Winings.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our January webinar on effective practices in character education and service learning workshop for the Principled Academy Institute and the Center for Learning and Character Education. So this morning we have a great series of sessions set up. We also have a lot of time for a question and answer and discussion. So please note your questions as our speakers present their remarks. These are based on some trainings this summer and some real life experiences in their schools and institutes. Also, the focus for them will be on applications, the takeaways, so that you can look for your own situations, your own context. And that's what we hope, that your questions will come out based on your context, what you can take away from today's sessions. So let's get going. So this morning I want to introduce, first of all, Alan Saunders, who will give a general introduction to our program this morning. So Alan, as many of you probably know, is the president and CEO of Saunders Consultancy. He is also an educational advisor and consultant for several organizations, including the UNESCO Center for Global Education and the Center for Leadership and Character Education. This has been quite a journey for him with character education and a heartfelt experience and commitment. Also, Alan is also part of the Principled Academy Institute. He is the chairman emeritus for the Conference of NGOs and the Committee of HIV/AIDS for organizations with consultative status at the UN for ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council for the UN in New York. He was the managing editor for the Discovering the Real Me curriculum program, which some of you may have used. And he has been quite a dogged effort to keep that curriculum moving and continuing to improve it. He has conducted teacher training workshops in several states in the US, as well as in 84 nations around the world. He is married to June Saunders, and they have 2 adult children and live in Western North Carolina. He is originally from Melbourne, Australia, and he is a graduate of SUNY Albany and holds a Bachelor of Science, and as well as in sociology, and a master's degree in education. He's fresh off doing a training in Belize and Honduras, which is the basis for today's program. Alan, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Winings. Good morning, everyone.
This morning, I'll be talking about effective practices in character education and service learning. Let's see. As we all know, there's a crisis of a character, not only in the US today, but internationally. And there was a book written by Peter Firestein, which highlights that, called it Crisis of Character, Building Corporate Reputation in the Age of Skepticism. And Dr. Firestein is a reputation risk manager that travels around the world looking at all the challenges. And he talks to corporate America and international Fortune 500 companies about what they can do and their responsibility in, if there's a situation, for instance, in Guatemala, and then they're doing a pipeline or something like that, he consults with them about being able to take care of the environment, take care of the local people, as well as do the project. As we know, there's a challenge of identity formation in teenagers, for young adults and teachers and adults even my age. Even people I know have an identity crisis as per what they can do and what they can't do and where they should be in their lives. In the 1980s, we had a situation in education of values clarification, which was based on Rogerian psychology, which stated all people are equal. And as we know, as children of the universe, we're all equal. However, there's a big difference between someone like Dr. Winings and a 6-year-old. There's just different levels of maturity, experience, and expertise. The formation of character education is in philosophy, in Greek philosophy, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. So all the challenges that we're having is not just any one socioeconomic group, it's across the board. So Dr. Licona looked at that in his book, Educating for Character, as a response to values clarification. After that, June and others, John Williams, Josie Howe, Tony Devine, and others wrote this book, Cultivating Heart and Character, Educating for Life's Most Essential Goals. And in that book, we looked at how we can build character in all the different areas of life, not only in schools, but in the home and in society. So it's a multi-pronged approach. And I'd like to read from the section, The 4 Spheres of Love, which many of you are familiar with. The family is a crucible of character, implicitly teaching about virtues of honesty, loyalty, trust, self-sacrifice, personal responsibility, and respect for others. More fundamentally, it is a school of love and relationships, where the foundational capacity to invest love and the associated relational skills are optimally acquired. Embodied in the family is a natural moral and relationship growth dynamic, the family roles of child, sibling, spouse, and parent. Each role may be conceived of as a sphere of love, bringing its unique challenges and rewards, its distinctive norms and objectives. And as we know, all as parents, it's probably one of the most challenging elements. Dr. Winings also, and we'll be talking about both character education and service learning today. Dr. Winings wrote this book, Building Character Through Service Learning, and we are going to be working on another book on how the application of that, how we can connect building character, because at a certain age, and I'm going to be focusing more on the high school and college level, at a certain age, we go beyond just talking about being good, and we do a lot of service learning, we do leadership training, and we take it to another level. Dr. Licona also wrote the book, Raising Good Children, How to Help Your Child Develop a Lifelong Sense of Honesty, Decency, and Respect for Others. And some of you may be asking, how do I get my hands on all these books? That's a very good question. To answer that, we will be putting all these PowerPoints will be going up on the website for the Institute at the Principled Academy. We are starting a one-stop shopping that Isaac Durst will be talking about in later in this session. So they'll be all there available. Also, this session is being recorded, so everybody who is here today and who has registered will be getting a copy of that. So that'll be another location you'll be able to get all these slides from. So therefore, there is a connection between character development, service learning, interpersonal communication skills, and leadership development. And our next workshop in March will actually go into a lot about leadership development, which is the next stage up from once we teach young children how to be good and we help them put it into practice, we want to create leaders that can help train others. Character education then is a virtues-based approach. It's a universal perspective, and it's beyond any particular religious tradition or faith perspective. So it focuses on the virtues of respect, responsibility, honesty, empathy. And again, we focus on philosophical reasoning and Socratic dialogue rather than didactic lecturing. Young people are more interested in you and your stories and theories and concepts. One of the weaknesses in faith traditions that I see, and no matter what faith tradition it is, we tend to lecture at young people, even young adults. After about 3 to 5 minutes, you've lost them. So we have to get into more discussion, and that's what we do in character education. We get into asking a lot of questions, such as, at what age do young people mature today? So in the chat, you can put your answer to that question. What age do you think young people mature? And that'll be something we'll be talking about in a little bit more detail during your breakout session. Also, other theorists have done a lot of work in asking why are some youth and children successful and why do individuals struggle? It's amazing to me. I worked in the Patterson School District for over a decade, and some young people, one of the young ladies that I'll be talking about later, Yvonne Harvey Williams, came out of one of the socioeconomically challenged in Patterson. She is now, through working with a mentor, the #1 youth lecturer in America. She travels around the country giving these talks. She's successfully married. Her son is now graduated from high school, going to college with honors. And Dr. Benson asked this question in his text: all kids are our kids. What communities must do to raise caring and responsible children and adolescents? And in this, he connected to elements of these developmental assets. And he's shown beyond research that if they have a high level of these external assets, which are support, empowerment, boundaries and expectations, especially for teenagers, very important, and constructive use of time, and the internal assets, which are more character-based and interpersonal communication, commitment to learning, positive values, social competency, and positive identity. And he has shown that if young people have a high percentage of these assets, they will have the thriving skills to be able to help others, have diversity, maintain good health, exhibit leadership, resist dangers, delay gratification, and overcome adversity. However, if they have a low percentage of these development assets, they are more likely to drink alcohol, do drugs, have premature sexual relationships, even depression and suicide. There's a phenomenal high percentage of the 80,000 people who committed suicide in America last year were teenagers and young adults. Antisocial behavior, problems in school, violence, and gambling. So that question then has been answered by him, that we have to help young people have all these different elements. They also need to have positive role models and positive peer support. They have to have goals, and they need people to look up to. And that's one thing that we do when we train teachers. We try and help them become the types of role models that you'll be hearing from today, because young people need to be able to see it. At a certain age, they're going to react against their parents, and they're going to listen to their friends more than anybody else. Another consultant that I've worked very closely with is Dr. Matt Davidson, and he began the Excellence with Integrity Institute. He has spoken on our CLCED workshops before, and he has done a phenomenal amount of research to show how we can develop excellence all the way through high school and college. Another very important research material is a report to the nation, Smart and Good High Schools, Integrating Excellence and Ethics for Schools in Work and Beyond, by Dr. Lacona and Davidson. It focuses on the promising practices for building 8 strengths of character that help youth lead productive, ethical lives and fulfilling lives. It's by the Character Development Group. And it goes into an ethical learning community and a professional ethic learning community. It has a plethora of programs and websites as part of that. And you can be able to download that. It is available now on Amazon. And it has one of the elements that we break into when we do workshops is 8 strengths of character. And it looks at all these different levels. And the number 8th character has quoted cultivating heart and character, how we can develop a spiritual person. So again, we can't talk religiously in schools, but we can talk about spirituality and spiritualism. And Wayne Dyer has talked about a lot of that in his programs, and he has gone into a lot of detail on how we can develop different elements of character in that. Also, another point in high school and college is definitely looking at interpersonal communication skills, discussing love and sexuality. If you want to get into a conversation with young people today, ask them, what is love? And one of the researchers that I've worked and known quite well wrote this book, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Experiencing the Magic, Mystery, and Meaning of Successful Relationships. And in that work, Kim Halford, one of the educators from my hometown in Melbourne, Australia, wrote the following. When I was a young man, I thought love was that passion, lust, exhilaration that can overwhelm when you are besotted with someone. I still think that it is an exciting feeling, a feeling that should be savored. But now I am middle-aged, I do not mistake the excitement of lust for true love. In fact, I no longer believe the people fall in love. People fall into lust and they fall into attraction, which are exciting, but lust is not love, and love is not something you fall into. Two mutually besotted people who just met can know great passion, but they cannot know the depth of love of a couple who have shared a lifetime together. I think true love is built over a lifetime. Initial attraction is built into love through sharing births, deaths, marriage, friendships, celebrations, mourning, and the mundane. In my research on couples, my practice as a couple therapist, and in my life, it is a long-term sharing of the journey of life that I see as love. I often tell teachers and young people when I lecture, the two most difficult things you'll ever do is get married and have a child. That is the love that people tell me they seek. Initial attraction is important, but it is a commitment and the sharing over time that develops love. So what determines if a couple stays together and builds a loving relationship? Many things determine relationship: the culture in which we are raised, the support of family and friends, relationship skills and communication skills, and conflict management, and the ability of each partner to manage stress. I would add the development of character, and putting that into practice through service programs is also important. Good luck also helps. Good luck provides a mix of joys to share and manageable challenge to overcome for the couple. Finding the right partner is much overemphasized in love. We each are capable of loving many other people as life partners. Chance determines whom we meet. Love may be built when we seize the opportunity to build a relationship with someone to whom we are attracted. If we do what we can build love, and if the roll of the cosmic dice favors us, then we may be rewarded with true love. So there is a lot of description of what love is in that. And also in her book, Simple Yet Profound, Yvonne Harvey Williams, who again is one of the most sought after speakers, is actually in Atlanta, Georgia, talks about how to develop lasting relationships. There's also a DVD by the Center for Educational Media that also highlights the top dozen marriage therapists in America, and it looks at different elements of that. Also, my charming and brilliant wife here, who I have to owe most of my success to and whatever I've done. She wrote this book, Spill the Scarlet Rain, a Civil War novel. And why am I talking about a Civil War novel about when I'm talking about character building and relationships? That's another very good question, because it goes into true love relationships as opposed to dysfunctional relationships. That's also available on Amazon. And finally, I talk about, I'd like to just briefly discuss the importance of value. And value is something that we need to be able to look into. The Discovering the Real Me curriculum, which is available on the Principled Academy Institute, but is also available on the UPF website. And the number 10 book, Building Successful Relationships, looks at how do I find my value? This is one of the most confusing things for young people. How do you find our value? And in that, it looks at intrinsic value, it looks at objective worth and inner worth. Many young people think that what other people think of them is their real value. But then if that opinion changes, then they have a lot of struggles in life. But our deepest level of value comes from inside the person, what we do when we're altruistic, helping others and energized, when we feel useful, needed, and affirms the deepest elements of our being. Finally, there's a lot of different movies, and Dr. Winings will be talking about some of the current movies like Avatar, but also Schindler's List is one of the most important movies that I see. So I'll finish off there. I know I went through a lot of materials, but we will be discussing other points as we go through in the breakout rooms. Thank you for your attention, and I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Winings.
Thank you, Alan. This past summer and fall, one of the workshops that was extremely valuable and exciting was the one held in Belize, and on character education. And it was, from what I heard on the reports from those who were there, it was an amazing workshop. And a lot of that was due to also the valuable work of our next presenter, who is Barbara Earlington. She is the principal of the Samuel Haynes Institute of Excellence there in Belize, and she's an educational consultant. And she's going to talk about the experience of character ed workshop there and the plans for the initiation of character education throughout the area of Belize and the schools there and the network that she has. So thank you and welcome, Barbara.
Good morning. It is rather interesting and certainly worthwhile to join all of you this morning. And I'm trying to share my screen.
There's a green button. There you go. Got it.
Pardon? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfectly.
We were indeed very happy and grateful to have been involved in this training program with Alan Sanders, and we had our first meetings, which were planning meetings, and then we had an orientation. We had a small group that attended the planning meeting, and which was held in August. And as you can see, we were also the recipient of the textbooks on character development education. And we are very grateful for all those who have been involved to make it possible for us to get copies of the textbooks. Um, trying to shift this screen.
You're sharing now, just click down.
Just, okay. And these are persons who really are spearheading what is happening in Belize. And we have been trying to get an awareness across our primary schools. We started out with Trinity Methodist Primary School. We wanted to do the program also at the Institute. And however, because we had to rescue a school whose building was kind of literally falling down around them, we gave this space in our institution to this new school. It's an Anglican school. And we have been talking with the principal and the teachers at this school, and we are hoping to work with them since our program is on hold until this school can restore their building. And so we have Carla, who works with the police, because we had the police, the community police involved in our orientation. From the very beginning, they wanted to be a part of what we were doing. And Carla is responsible for talking with them and keeping them motivated and on track. Charlene has been assigned now to work with St. Mary's School. They're right on our campus. And Dahlia is the chief person or the lead person at Trinity School. Oops, sorry. At the workshop, we had 28 participants, and it included our police officers who run the community policing programs. We had the primary school teachers, we had some retired teachers, community workers, and we had Alan facilitating that workshop. We also had representative from the YFWP, and some of the takeaways from that workshop was that together we acknowledge that we are living in difficult times. There are lots of difficulties. Our children are disadvantaged and having to deal with all the after effects of COVID and being locked away and so on. And there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of recruitment for gangs and so on from our young people. And we know that we do have to work with them to try to help them to deal with their values. We have accepted our obligation to help. And so there is the commitment there. We understand that the focus needs to be on virtues and values. And we based on the exposure we got at the workshop with Alan, we have a better understanding of the virtue-based approach and the use of these stories in the text. And we're all prepared to use our resources, human and otherwise, to help each other to go through the books and to do the work that is necessary. So where are we now? We have had those two meetings, orientation workshop, and we are following up with our schools and our community police. I think Dahlia is here, and I would like to ask her to just join in there and tell us a little bit of what is happening in Trinity. Dahlia?
Who are you asking, Dahlia? Dahlia.
Dahlia, are you available?
Okay, good morning. I just got a message that said the host was not allowing me to unmute. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm from Trinity Primary School. We have 8 classes from infant 1 to standard 6. We received 2 sets of books along with the teacher manual. 1 set for the infant 1 to standard 2. The other set for standard 3 to standard 6. The stories in the set for the lower division are most relevant. They are not strange to us. We grew up hearing most of those stories, so they are not strange to the teachers. This set of books for the older students are also very interesting, and the character values that we find in those books are very much linked to our teachings in our subjects such as religious studies, which we call scripture, our health education subject, and also our language arts, especially in our comprehension section of the language arts. So we find that the books are most relevant to our students, and we also find that the students are interested in hearing stories because children like to listen to stories. They like to hear us read to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dahlia. And like she said, the principal facilitates the teachers' familiarization with the text. And then their activities for better understanding of the virtues. I actually visited the school, and in the staff daily devotion, they had a box, and the box was filled with all the listing of the virtues. And every day they take, or I think once a week, they each take a virtue, and they would talk about the virtue, what it means to them, where they need to improve in developing this virtue for themselves, first of all, understanding the virtue, and then talking about sharing in terms of where they need to develop in achieving that virtue or working towards achieving it. I thought that was a beautiful expression of getting involved and better understanding and sharing and supporting each other, because there are instances where the teachers would relate that they have been working towards it, but they do discover stumbling blocks, and teachers were able to reach out to support each other. I really appreciated that activity. And they do focus on a virtue a week. The school focuses on a virtue a week. We're very happy to have Dahlia taking the lead there. Plan for implementation. There are 4 areas that we look at. Orientation and training. It is a continuous process because we want to bring new people in. Yes, we have had those of us who have had the orientation, but as we bring new people in, we need to be able to get them to understand, join with us, and then to buy into the whole matter of implementing the work in the books. Awareness and promotion. We talk continuously about our textbooks. We use every opportunity to talk about them. And we're hoping that by so doing, we can promote interest first, and then certainly others to join us. We want to reach a point where we're actively implementing across the whole gamut of the age ranges that is catered for in the book. So that's our implementation goal. And we believe that there should be a system whereby we can monitor and evaluate how the methodologies in the book is working, and certainly whether the children whether there's any change in behavior, in how the children carry themselves and so on, based on what we're doing with them. And then we need to be able to set up a network where we can easily get in touch with each other to provide whatever support they need. So the strategic networks. We have set a timeline, and between now until May, there are certain things we want to get done. And we will be working to do these things. By February, we want to make sure that our schools have been using the methodologies in the school so that they are in a position to begin to give us feedback or identifying where they need help and so on. And so by March, we would, all the groups we're working with, we would want to have them fully implementing. In April, by April, we would want to maybe, I don't know, if to put together a little checklist that we can monitor progress, or somewhere in which we can identify what are some of the outputs that we expect, what changes we expect to see within the various institutions that we can take as we go along to say, yes, we are progressing. And by May, we would want to have a good working network. So that's our timeline. I mean, it's flexible. We might have to change and add things or shift things around or extend the time as needs be. How we get there. And again, we have identified what we want to do at the school level, at the community organization level, and certainly in terms of our network. I just recently heard that the Love Foundation is doing some work with some young people, disadvantaged young people, and they have produced a little booklet, a little guidebook. I believe if we can have some audience with them, we could provide them with a set of the books that they could use to maybe broaden their efforts. I like the thought of this because the Love Foundation it's connected to one of our local television station, and they do promote themselves. We don't have the finances to promote ourselves, and maybe that is not necessarily our goal. But in terms of the Love Foundation, they would be able to help with the promotion of the books if we can get them to agree that this is something useful for them. We are still in touch with the Ministry of Education, and we are encouraging them to include the work in our books in their National Teacher Training Institute. We haven't gotten any positive word except that they are looking at the books. So we want to continue to work along those lines. And then our major focus, we understand that we need to be able to identify that personal traits are developing, more moral emotions are changing, values are changing. We want to ensure that this is happening, and hence we said we need to have some kind of monitoring and evaluation mechanism to see that this change is taking place. We do appreciate the textbooks and as having quality methodology and certainly tools that should be used, could be used. So certainly we need to look more at the promotion and promoting them across other groups. So we're looking at that. And of course, measuring the progress and impact. These are three major focus for the period we're looking at from now to May. And we want to, in closing, I would just want to thank everybody, those who are have committed to make use of the textbooks and committed to be part of these training sessions. We want to thank them. We want to thank those who have helped us, facilitated us in getting the books. We want to thank Miss Carmen. Miss Carmen, keep in touch with us to check on us and finding out how we're doing. And all those who participated in our training thus far. We know that there's continued interest in Mario, and we would hope that we could team up at some time to see what's happening in Honduras. And we are very grateful to Alan Sanders and his support team. And we look forward to more sessions like these. We thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you very much. All right. Our last session before our Q&A is talking about the Principled Academy Institute. As you noticed in the title of our webinar today, you notice the addition of the Principled Academy. So this is a new endeavor with the Character Education Initiative. So we wanted to offer Isaac Durst time to talk about the plans and strategies for this online institute based initially on the discovering of the Real Me curriculum and other curriculum. Isaac received his BA in English at UC Berkeley, and he continued his education at Yonsei University in Seoul, Korea, South Korea, where he received his Master's of Arts, his MA in East Asian Studies. From 97 until now, he has actually been involved with education in various areas. He's done ESL work, I know, and in South Korea, he's also, until 2016, he did numerous radio and TV shows, internet programs, and published many books. In 2016, he then began his work as the head of school at a private school in Northern California, the Principled Academy. At the Principled Academy, he was involved with teams that utilized a character education curriculum in the school. And now he's working to expand that to an online program. So Isaac, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to put my timer on, value everybody's time. But I'd like to start my maybe the first 20 seconds. If you guys could just stretch, it's been already past the 40-minute mark. Stretch a little bit, breathe deeply, get those brain cells moving. As a guy, I always speak with my hands and I move a lot. And if I stop moving, I tend to be quiet. So you may see me moving a lot. Prepare yourselves. So happy Saturday to you. Hope you are well. I kind of made a video to talk a little bit about what the Institute is, the concept about it. And I thought maybe we could start there if that's okay with you guys. Let me see if I can share my screen and do this properly. Fingers crossed. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. Let me know if this works. 1 second. Always heaven in the details. Make sure I press the right buttons. Okay, good. Okay, expand. Hopefully you guys can see this. Virtue of the month, gratitude, generosity, empathy, determination, and it goes on and on. For 30 plus years, that's what we have been doing. Talking about these virtues, these core values, things that make a kiddo a person of good character. What are these things? We have identified them again and again and have had these themes of the month. Here at the Principled Academy, our brick and mortar school. What if someone anywhere at any time could access these things in a well-organized way? The Principled Academy Institute, that's what it would be. It'd be curated. We wouldn't need to recreate the wheel. There's a lot of great stuff out there, but we know what it is and we can organize it well. We can send someone, a parent, teacher, whomever, to a place that is able to find in the virtue some activity, some books, some video, and some follow-up questions, some thought questions to help them master that thing over time. It takes time. So to curate and create content through our character education hub, our GPS, if you will, that's the thought. We've identified 24 core virtues, these values. Of course, they're in our logo: respect, responsibility, integrity, and it goes on and on. And we know that there are different levels, things that are appropriate for different age groups, preschool to adults, of course, to be a special teacher area with resources. But imagine that there's someone who wants to find a good book. So they look for a 7th grade, 8th grade, click on gratitude. Oh, it leads to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or Alan Saunders stuff, or this TED Talk. And then after the TED Talk, our writers will have good thought questions. Think about it, talk about it, write about it. Because the video in and of itself isn't enough. What do you do? What about the definition of these things? Because there are certain ways you talk about respect to a preschooler, or respect. What's respect? Well, kiddos, what about respect to a 5th and 6th grader? It's a different conversation. So having proper definitions, having books, videos, and activities, go to the food bank. And then what? Think about it, talk about it, write about it. So we do not need to create new stuff. It's all out there, but there's a lot of garbage. There's a lot to sift through. We know how to do that. We can highly recommend this book, this video, this activity, and then the follow-up questions. And all they need to do, it's made easy. They go to the GPS, they click on what they want to do. There's lots of possibilities of even having it all spelled out, or they look in the search bar, and then boom, it's there. We need writers, we need curators, we need to organize this, and that's exactly what the Principled Academy Institute will do, and we're very good at it. So I'm inspired, hopefully you are too, and heaven is in the details. Heaven indeed is in the details. I want to let you know that it's not available right now. So if you have been excited about one of the books that has been mentioned, you do need to go to Amazon to get it. I better plug my dad's latest book. Oops, I don't know if you can see it. It says How Families, Schools, and Communities Raise Good Children. He's still creating a lot of good stuff. He's in his early 80s. And when I was a kid, he was saying, Isaac, you got to know the good, desire the good, and do the good. Know the good, desire the good, and do the good. And I'm like, little baby, goo goo gaga. But it comes out in stories, good videos. Of course, nowadays it's all about videos. Kids, want to see the video on YouTube. Or of course, we have at the school here tons of books that are wonderful. I don't know if you can see this, but it's wonderful to have a good library, but it's also wonderful to use the tools that we have and to be able just to click. Oh, here's that video, here's that book. We read it together, we come back, and then we discuss it appropriately. So a good teacher knows how to talk to their 2nd grade class. A good coach knows how to connect with their students or the team. Grandparents want to talk with their kiddos and have activities. And so we're hoping that the Principled Academy Institute can be that hub, can be that place where people can easily find what they want and then talk about it with their crew. We're finding that homeschool has become bigger and bigger in America. people want to do, something that is, fits their value system, because those things are changing a lot. So yeah, the Principal Academy Institute. Oops. Let me turn this off. At my 7 minutes, I wanted to give a little bit of time for Q&A. It's not done yet. It's just in the planning stages, and heaven's in the details, but I wanted to kind of share what our vision was and allow people to ask questions. Let me check the chat room, see if there's questions.
No, Isaac, we're doing question and answers for the whole morning session.
Okay. I wanted to also just be available to answer any questions that people had, but I wanted to kind of throw out the appetizer there.
Thank you very much. All right, so we have a few minutes before we do our breakout groups for Q&A for any of our presenters this morning. You can put them, as I put a note in the chat box, you can put them in the chat area. Please note to whom the question goes. Or you can, because there's so many of you, I can't scan, I don't see all of you, so I can't see raised hands. So it's better to put them in the chat box. I am monitoring the chat box now, so we have a question that has come up already. From Will, it's addressed to Isaac. If your Principled Academy Institute uses the Discovering the Real Me text, are you working with UPF since they also use the text?
Yes, indeed. We will not, I don't think, be using everything. We want to have our virtues set out there, but we want to make it easier to access the material. Of course, there's nothing like having the book or writing, think about it, talk about it, write about it. You can't write stuff. You have to do that in the classroom or at the home. So having the text, is invaluable, but we would choose from the content, and then, make it a lot easier to access. And ideally, the audio would be, on YouTube, or much easier to access all of the audio. Because sometimes the DVDs get destroyed, the CDs get destroyed, and we want to make it digital.
All right,
That's the
thank
vision.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. And Carol Povens has a question of when will the text as the target date to hopefully have the website up and ready?
So we want to have a full year curriculum, and that's the absolute goal. But I think we can open up once we have about 3 months, maybe 4 months worth. And that would kind of, because I'm a visual learner, I got to see we see that the virtues continue, the levels will continue. We wouldn't have initially 5, 7 levels or all 12 or 24 virtues. We would start with kind of a big solid block, and so people can get it, start using it, and then contributing, because we don't want just Western, stories. We want stories from all over the world, and that give and take and participation from teachers around the world is going to make this successful. So I'm not sure. I want to give a conservative answer of possibly 4 months before we would start to make it public. 4 months to 6 months.
Okay, other questions for any of our speakers this morning?
So Dr. Warnings, maybe I can just mention quickly, we'll be putting a lot of videos up on the Principled Academy Institute website, where we'll be putting each of the grade levels of the Discovering the Real Me, the PowerPoint presentations of that. Also a curriculum I created doing a leadership course at William Patterson University. And we'll be requesting each of the presenters here today to be putting their material up on the website. And my wife is also writing a book about a cat, interestingly enough, that will also go up on the website.
Oh.
So, so she didn't know about that. So there'll be a lot of material there. And also as a phase 2 and a phase 3, we'll be starting a coaching session that Dr. Winings and I will be the initial coaches for. So you'll be able to have the capacity to learn how to do this. I often get asked, how do you do all this? And people need to be walked through all the process. So we'll be doing that also with Poppy Ritchie, who is one of the first teachers who will be presenting in the session. Will also be available to help people understand how to do this, to put it into practice.
Okay, and from Chantal, and I'm going to combine your two questions, Chantal, since they are related, Chantal Marie. The first part of the question is there a relationship existing between unificationist-based schools, and is there a system in place for these schools to be able to relate with each other?
Well, I can answer at least part of it. During the pandemic, all of the heads of school, Bay Area schools, different schools, we started communicating a lot. And full transparency, ladies and gentlemen, the Principled Academy right now is on pause. It went for 35 years, and then all of the balls that were being juggled, they got hit hard by the pandemic, and things started changing. So we have the principal, the preschool to 8th grade is presently not happening. And so we want to focus online in this character education. But yes, the heads of school have been communicating. We do share material, and that's ideally what this giant potluck party we want to have at the Principled Academy Institute.
I mean, and in response also from based on what I know, Chantal Marie, is that it really depends on the head of the school and the board that runs that school and the district that they're in. And it depends on how they've been set up and what they decide to do. Several of our schools, those schools are very independent and some are not. So and is there a system? No. There's no formal system based out of a central headquarters thought. There have been discussions about this, and I've been asked personally myself about creating such a system, but it's extremely difficult, and many people have tried to create such a system. But with the independence of districts, it's been a challenge in that way.
We usually meet once a month, just saying. Usually we meet once a month, and it's a therapy session.
Yeah. All right. One more from Will, and then there's Jen. I'm trying to get to different people. Hold on. That one just bumped me up. Okay. To Alan. Most character ed is focused on raising youth. How can character ed be used for citizen development for adults?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the elements that we do in our programs is actually bring parents into the schools. And one of the things most people don't realize, if your child is going to any school in America, they can actually go in and observe a teacher in a classroom. But as per development for adults, we have a lot of other programs that I work with. One is Compassion Power by Dr. Stephen Stosny that looks at how people can deal with anger management. But primarily our program is more focused on children, teenagers, young adults, but we do some programs for adults. But there are so many other programs out there, like some of the marriage and relationship skills program that I talked about, that deal with how to improve relationships in society. There's also a lot of different programs. The next workshop we'll be doing will be on leadership development, and I work with the Arbinger Institute that has a lot of material on how to improve relationships within works and within families. That's the short answer for that question.
Okay, from Janet Pandy for Mrs. Ellington. You've talked about the schools being on more of an elementary level. Are you also working with any of the high schools in Belize? And if not, is there any plan to do so in the future?
Yes, we have thought about it. However, we have to start with what we can manage at this point in time. But if there is a high school that is interested, our team is prepared to sit with them and to go through the text with them, the orientation package that we got to share with them. We're prepared to do that. Right now, I don't have on my staff or in our group a person who is able to take on additional work to work with the high school. But yes, we are willing to work with whoever.
Okay, sounds good. All right, two others, and then we'll end and go into our breakout sessions. I'm watching the time. It's a difficult task of an MC is to monitor the time. So, all right, Denise Nelson. A group of Guyanese, and I was just talking to someone the other day about Guyana because of the Joshua House program. Interesting. A group of Guyanese met and concluded that you'd like to sponsor a character ed workshop there. Marvelous idea, marvelous idea. And I love the Belize model. How can you help us? She asked. Any thoughts? That would either be okay. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. I'd have to have a discussion with Denise offline, but it's definitely doable. Once the idea was to set up programs both in Belize and Honduras, and once they're in the process, which they are now, we can definitely spin out to other countries such as Dominican Republic, Guyana, and other places, and we're definitely open to doing that. Also, another point that we're doing is working with individuals in the diaspora throughout the states, in California, New York, DC, and around the country. So we can do programs here and then train individuals to help with their going back to their country of origin to continue the work there. So yes, we're open to that, and we will work with you to develop that. And if Mrs. Erlington or Mario would like to participate, definitely, and Carol Pobens, they're all would be able to help, depending on funding, including Dr. Winings.
Okay. All right, and then Mark Lincoln, and I'm going to combine your questions also, Mark, since they're similar. How many educationist schools are there in the U.S. and where are they? I have no idea, Mark. Do you, Al?
I do, but I think that's something that we can send out.
Yeah.
I think we need to maybe move on now,
Yep,
Kathy,
I'm
because
watching
that's.
my phone.
I think they're spread around the country. There's about half a dozen, but I don't want to take the time right now to
Okay.
explain all of those. But they're in California, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. But we'll send it out by email.
Yeah. And then Brian, hang on to your question, Brian, for the next Q&A. All right. So let's go into our breakout groups. You will automatically receive a pop-up and that you just accept it. You'll be divided into groups. And let's go.
Great.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good breakout session, and we had one. It ended too soon, too quickly. Yeah. So it always happens that way, unfortunately. But again, my difficult task is moving the groups along, and I hate having to do that. But our next session, we will have another breakout session, so don't worry. Our next session, session 2, is again looking at effective practices. And we're going to start off with Poppy Ritchie teaching in the Caribbean and the Pacific Islands, as well as Principled Academy and educational books. And Poppy Ritchie, as some of you know her, is a wife and mother of 3 adult children and 1 grandchild. And she was a teacher and administrator at the Principled Academy as well for 25 years. After retiring from that position, she transitioned into freelance writing and has contributed to several various publications that involve developing character education and science curricula, co-authoring a book and writing education articles for a magazine called American Essence. She co-authored the Discovering the Real Me books 1 to 4 and trained teachers and administrators in St. Lucia, Micronesia, and Zambia in order to use this curriculum. Currently, she's part of the team that is presenting character education workshops on Zoom, both in the US as well as in Central America. She resides in Loveland, Colorado, snow country right now, with her husband, Jim, and their wonderful dog, which we sometimes hear in our Zoom meetings. It took me a while to realize it was a dog. I wasn't quite sure. I couldn't see it all. Poor Roxy. Anyway, they
For
spend a
sure,
lot
it's a
of time.
dog with character.
Yes, he barks with good character, Poppy. In the beautiful area, mountain area. So take it away, Poppy.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Yes, my dog attends all of our planning meetings. So, so I'll be reading from my script, and I apologize for not making enough eye contact as I would like to, but please bear with me. I'd like to share about some of my experiences with implementing character education here in the United States as a teacher at Principled Academy in California and abroad, doing teacher trainings in various places. I was there in the very beginning when we started Principled Academy more than 30 years ago. Out of a concern for our own children, we recognized that our local schools were not at all interested in teaching virtues in the classroom. None of us Principled Academy teachers were trained in character education, so Dr. Durst hooked us up with Thomas Lacona's Institute and other resources that helped us form our unique approach to character education. It took years of staff meetings, teacher trainings, and endless discussions to develop as an effective character education school. From preschool through 8th grade, we gradually incorporated virtues education into our classrooms in most subjects and activities, as well as in our system, as well as in our systems of managing student behavior, such as in conflict resolution. When I compared my own education from kindergarten through 12th grade to what we were teaching at Principled Academy, I was thrilled to be able to offer students a much better experience that would prepare them for their adult lives so much more effectively than the experience I had growing up. The experience at Principled Academy under the guidance of our beloved Alan Saunders, called Discovering the Real Me, which was published in 2006. This led to an invitation to help conduct teacher training programs in underserved places like Micronesia in the South Pacific, St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and Zambia in Africa, which I gladly accepted because it was something I had wanted to do since I was a child. I was especially interested in having the chance to present a different picture of the developed nations to these countries. I believe that America had and still does export a lot of junk to the world. Immoral behaviors, drugs, disrespect, and the lot. And I was feeling ashamed of my own country, America, in the United States of America. One of the best decisions we made was to bring college-age interns with us to these countries. Going to these small island nations with interns who represented what I felt was the best, the very best of my country was very healing. These young people became new virtuous role models to the students who were thirsty for something much better than what they had been exposed to from developed nations. The governments, especially the ministers of education of these countries, were very receptive to our character education programs because they value their youth so much. Leaders in these countries take character education so seriously because the future of their country depends on the next generation who need training in virtuous leadership. Without that, there is no future for these countries, and they recognize that. The interns, mostly in their early 20s, but some even younger, took such an interest in the high school students in Micronesia when we put on the workshop after the teacher training. The interns led all the activities, the sports, service projects, icebreakers, and did some education as well. They enthusiastically took an interest in the traditional culture, and the Micronesians taught them things like basket weaving, how to climb a coconut tree using a machete to cut down the coconuts, cut them open and drink the liquid inside, and then some traditional dances. When the interns embraced their culture with so much excitement, the Micronesians were filled with a newly discovered pride in their country and its traditions. When it was all over, the Micronesian kids circled one of the interns, Morrow Willis, their favorite intern, and claimed to want to kidnap him. They wanted him to stay there forever because he had made such a beautiful impression on them. You may wonder what is the best way to convey the message of character education. You probably have some idea by now from hearing people share about it. We found that stories, both factual and fictional, work well with students. The Discovering the Real Me curriculum is filled with stories about how life problems are solved through understanding and applying virtues. These stories can be inserted into academic classes or taught separately in a standalone class. In history classes, students can study famous people and their culture who represent a specific virtue. In the USA, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. can be a model for the virtue of courage. In Zambia, I encourage teachers to focus on teaching about Nelson Mandela's patience, courage, ability to forgive, and leadership. Students in Micronesia can learn about the value of democracy when they study their country's emergence from Japanese occupation to independence. In language classes, students can read books by native writers that highlight virtues. They can write essays about character development, making good choices, and other meaningful topics. So what are the objectives of character education? Students at these kinds of schools are expected to learn about and apply virtuous behavior, beginning with respect and responsibility. Teachers are trained to understand and teach the definitions of the main virtues, and they are expected to model good behavior and encourage their students to act responsibly. We discovered that classrooms in Micronesia were very formal, with old style instruction in which the teacher lectures and students listen. Educators have discovered that students learn better in interactive classes, as Alan Saunders was sharing in the very beginning, where there are small group discussions and lots of teamwork. I think the teachers observing our interns leading an icebreaker in a high school classroom in Micronesia were a bit shocked when students got out of their seats to participate. It was noisy, but managed well by the interns, and the students loved the interaction. Teachers were able to observe the interns leading sports activities and after-school clubs, and it opened up a whole new world for them. and discussion, adding teamwork and small group work. We did service projects with the kids, picking up trash in the local neighborhoods, which made a huge impression on local business owners in Micronesia. And again, the kids had a lot of fun and shared afterwards how good it felt. In Zambia, interns removed peeling paint and painted school classrooms. Sometimes because the seasonal rain destroys the path they have to take to get there. And if they don't have shoes, they aren't allowed to go. Interns, when they were read stories from the Discovering the Real Me, often about characters that had relatable problems they faced and solved. They could bring up their questions and concerns in discussions after the reading. And maybe this was the first time ever they had a chance to do that. The role models, and hopefully this made a huge difference in their lives as well. Definitely a win-win situation. So in conclusion, my journey with character education has been full of exciting experiences with administrators, teachers, students of all ages, and families. I hope you enjoyed what I had to share, and that's about it for now. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Poppy. Thank you. It's always good to hear everyone's experiences, as I call it, in the real world, using character education. Thank you. Our next session, our next speaker is going to talk about her real experiences on my favorite topic, which is service learning. Service learning has always been near and dear to my heart. So Carol Pobance has worked deeply in service learning, both in the US as well as in Central America. She's has been involved in ministry for over 40 years. She is presently pioneering Peace In, which is a service learning program, developing leadership while building international friendships and facilitating peace through communal arts. If you know Carol, she is an artist also, and that's something a lot of people don't know about Carol, but she is an artist. Carol graduated from Philadelphia College of Art, as well as the Unification Theological Seminary. She is a devoted wife and a mother to 4 grown sons and a grandma to 2 grandchildren, and a 3rd is on the way. How exciting. So Carol, take it away.
Thank you very much. Can everybody see that? Am I unmuted?
No screen yet.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
but
Okay,
no screen yet.
so I could go ahead and start the PowerPoint, correct? I could start the PowerPoint.
Yes,
Yes,
go ahead.
go,
ahead,
green
Carol.
light.
Peace In is an outgrowth of the Religious Youth Service.
We can see the screen. Nothing is in the screen.
Oh, why not? Oh, I know why. Sorry. I need. Share my screen. Now my here. Not this. No. So sorry. I'm going to use my time just searching for my PowerPoint. One moment. Am I okay now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. PSIN is an outgrowth of the Religious Youth Service. RYS is a project of the Universal Peace Federation and has done projects in North and South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Oceania. And I have to get back to that. Why can I not move to my next slide? There.
There you go.
Thank you. RYS is an experiential learning, service learning project with a special focus on development of personal leadership and peacemaking skills through living and providing altruistic service within the community. RYS demonstrates that it's possible for the global family to live together in peace and co-prosperity. I began working with religious youth service in around 1988 and 99. Again, oh, there it is. Just to share a little bit about why I got involved. My son was 14 years old and he wanted to go to a religious youth service project in Honduras after Hurricane Mitch. He was not allowed to go because he was only 14, and the only way he could go is if I went with him. Now, mind you, I've never been to a service learning program before. So I agreed to go with him, and I thought to myself, here I am, a great American, North American, going to this poor, forgive me, ignorant nation of Honduras. And I worked with a young boy, similar to the one in the picture there. He was only about 9 years old. And we were cleaning up after the hurricane. He was pushing a wheelbarrow full of garbage. And as he was pushing this thing running up the hill, the wheel fell off. And I thought to myself, this junky old wheelbarrow, now we have to go out and buy a new one. Well, I have to tell you that that child did not wait for even a second. He scanned the ground, he found a piece of wire, he put the wheel back on and he started running again. And I had to look at myself and say, who is the ignorant one here now? And I recognized at that moment, through the experience, that God has placed each one of us on this earth and given us talents, strengths, abilities, amazing understandings. And he's placed us in different places all over the world. One might be in the United States, one might be in Honduras, somebody else might be in a poverty-stricken place, somebody else in a very blessed nation. But each one of us is there doing what we could do. At that moment, my life changed because I realized I needed to do service learning. I had been talking about service, talking about living for the sake of others, but I needed to really understand what it is to actually experience and do that work. Well, I joined Religious Youth Service as a staff member after that, and thank goodness for the blessing of John Gearing gave me the leeway to not only do service as we were doing it, but also he allowed me to develop something using art as a means of service in the community. So our first project was the Bristol Mosque in Bristol, England. We had young people from 5 different religions and about 6 or 7 different countries. We worked together on this mosaic project. And what really said to me that this was an effective way to work and was a good learning experience for young people is one of the young men, a Muslim boy, in fact, said at the end, "We are like the mosaic. We're all different in color and size, And like the broken pieces of a mosaic, when we work together in harmony, we can create something beautiful. It's a deep understanding. And it has continued to be a quote that has driven what I'm doing. I came home and we started working on a project in Montclair State University near here. We did a project called Put Your Piece In. And that was the birth of the project Piece In. We had about 150 young people take part. The kids that were centrally working on this mosaic project, making a small peace park on the campus, would call out to anybody who was passing by our project and say to them, did you put your piece in? And even if they came over and put one piece in, it was significant to the project. The young people were from different religious clubs and organizations on campus. There were adults who came, there were kids who came, a lot of different people. And again, the whole project was a matter of recognizing that, like the mosaic, we were all part of the same whole. We were working in different race, different religion and age, but like the broken pieces of the mosaic, when we worked together in harmony, we were able to create something beautiful. So the birth of Piece In. It became an organization at that point, and we did projects in my town. We did an art project there. It was a sawdust carpet. This is an activity that's done in Honduras. So we brought 3 young people from Honduras up to work with the AP art students in my hometown. And they created this beautiful carpet made of sawdust on the main street of town. Well, we invited the ambassador from Honduras to come up as well, to come and speak at the gathering. And 2 years later, she invited us to come to the UN and do a similar project for the anniversary, the 72nd anniversary of the UN. And the kids went there and they created the carpet. And in the evening, there were 40 ambassadors who actually met the students who worked on the project, met them and congratulated them on what they were doing and admired their attitude about sharing and working together in cooperation. That gave us the incentive to go down to Honduras and begin a park called the Only One America Peace Park, an art park built by youth from North, South, and Central America. The kids got together, collaborated on what the design should be, and then they involved themselves in the activities. The city administration of Tela, Honduras gave us a little bit of land to make the Peace Park. This is what it looked like when we started out. This One America Peace Park, Una Sola America was called. And in service to the community, we built an obelisk, mosaic benches. We built a stone sculpture and painted peace quotes on the sidewalk. And the city itself was inspired then to build as well a tree house. And we also had swings and those sort of things. It was really great creating a meeting place for the community. Also, we put in a gazebo where we actually had a festival, a music festival one night. This park was created over a 3-year period, and the result of the project was that we gained the trust of the city administration. We established Tela as an international city of peace. We were invited to help improve the image of the city. We began character education in the entire school system of Tela, which includes 100 schools in large and small sizes. We inspired Nutley, New Jersey to become a city of peace and create a similar sculpture, which I'll show you in a minute. And then Nutley and Tela, Honduras became sister cities. But what we really learned together, all of us, was it's not about the pieces, but how we work together. which was the theme of the Peace Park. Recently in Nutley, New Jersey, the project was a unity sculpture, which was created by the entire Nutley High School. Students, many students and other community members who gathered together during the pandemic to create rocks that had messages of hope and peace, which were put into a larger sculpture, which ran out the words unity in one side, and if you looked at another angle, it ran out the word peace. As I mentioned before, service learning is experiential. All of my projects have the special focus of developing personal leadership and peacemaking skills through living and providing altruistic artistic service within a community. We have communicated to many people and demonstrated that it is possible for our global human family to live together in unity, peace, and cooperation. Thank you very much. I look forward to discussing further the details of these works. God bless.
Thank you very much, Carol. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And our next presenter also is going to share about his the next presenters, I should say, will talk about their experience in Honduras, which is a nice tie-in with Carol, because both Carol and I have worked in Honduras with service learning. Again, after Hurricane Mitch, IRFF did a long-term service learning program with teenagers in Honduras. It took me a while to get the teens there, but we did. We worked at a school and worked on their basketball court and sports field for the school. And they too, as Carol talked about, learned quite a bit. So I'm happy to be able to introduce Mario and Mika, who worked there in Honduras, share their experiences, as well as Nerlin, who at the last minute, from what I can see, could not be here today to share this. Is that correct? I believe that's what you said. I'm just now getting this message from you. So I'm going to introduce both of you together. All right. So Mario Salinas was a music teacher for 30 years, something I never knew about Mario, in different schools in Honduras. He has been volunteering for a long time, since mid-90s, for several service projects in Central America. He has also worked with RYS, Religious Youth Service, and Service for Peace, SFP, and the Service Task Force, and the Generation Peace Academy, doing service learning programs. So Mario has also helped build schools, soup kitchens, libraries, clinics, all with an international youth group coming to Honduras and Central America. So this has been such a dedication for him to work in service learning programs and building character this way with young people, from teenagers to young adults. Most recently, he partnered with Carol in initiatives such as Peace Parks in America, International Cities for Peace, and Character Ed. And of course, this summer with the training, he worked with Alan for the training with the teachers. So Mario is an old hand at this, I should say. And working with him this summer for the first time was Mika Deschatel. Nika is a Doctor of Ministry student at Unification Theological Seminary. She's working on her dissertation project in the area of character education in some form. I'm her advisor, so I haven't seen it yet, but she's just starting her studies. So she has a little ways to go in this area. She has worked as a youth minister for a number of years and a teacher. And teachers working in the elementary age area, I believe, Mika. And she's a wife and mother at the same time. So she's a very active person. So Mario and Mika, take it away.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm so amazed of the amount of people joining from so many different places. And I hope we can offer something. I don't have a presentation, but it's I wrote something, so I hope it helps to the purpose of this project. Yes, about Nurlin, Kathy, she sent her little lines of bio, and she also left with me some of her words. So in any moment when her participation comes, I'll be happy to read it for her if you allow. So I'm gonna go my story. While serving as a teacher in Honduras, I was first invited to join an international service project with World Student Service Corps in Guatemala as a volunteer, just the north up of my country, the next border. Then in 1995, the first project for Honduras was offered, in which I had to develop coordination capacities and guidelines. I never been organizing anything, but it came to me, so I had to develop a capacity at that moment. This happens to me very often. And guidelines for its execution and many other projects for Central America in the future. In all of those projects, as it was said, there were school building, clinics, cleaning systems, recovery after natural disasters, and also working with local governments in fighting against, for example, dengue, those kind of sickness. So we also were involved in some of those cases. It was in 1999, after Hurricane Mitch, that I met Carol Povans for the first time. And from there until now, we have been working together. All these projects always had strong educational ingredients in values and principles. And I realized the impact that the experience of service accompanied by formative instructions was of vital importance for our youth. I remember the case of this not so young volunteer who came back to me after 3 years participating in one of our projects, with the result that he had become the first person to have introduced secondary education in his native village in Honduras, by showing me pictures very proudly of the first graduating class, telling me that after having participated in our project, he reflected on what he was doing in the capital city while his people were without opportunities. So he decided to return. Later, due to his activism, he was hired by the World Vision and thus was able to install latrines, water, and electricity projects. Our team was invited to the inauguration of the first kindergarten school in his community, as the children had to walk many miles to the neighboring village. His performance was so outstanding that the regional director of our World Vision one day asked him, "Where did you come from?" So Quique, as we used to call him shortly, but his name is Enrique, prepared an agenda and invited me to explain about our projects, telling him this is where I came from. Although I had already heard of character education, and I was very excited thinking that it would be very useful for Honduras in Latin America, it was not until 2014 that I had my first meeting with Professor Alan Saunders, who was also excited to be able to expand this powerful education network to more countries on the American continent. And we put faith in such wishes. It was not until the end of 2019 that, thanks to the Peace Park and the establishment of TELA as International City of Peace, working together with Carol, as you saw in the previous presentation, that we came into contact with Wise Men's International of North Jersey, whose leaders, after listening to the passion with which Carol and I outlined the future of Honduras with character education, decided to support the project that is now underway in the city of Tela with great success and great expectation for 2023, which is why we are here. Can you imagine how much power can we achieve with so many school children and youth and teachers becoming agents of change? I believe that this team, this workshop, these people, this meeting, and its future projection have a lot of potentials. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Uncle Mario and Carol, for sharing. I do have a presentation, which with some pictures that may be helpful. We're gonna cut the music in the background, even though it's nice. Okay, okay. So I had the opportunity to travel to Honduras in early November together with this team of Ann Carroll and Uncle Mario and Alan Saunders. Also Daniel Mohan, who serves as the North Jersey Y Service Director. So, you know, I had to check the map to make sure where Honduras is. You know, we can see it's close to Belize and in Central America, where a lot of this, these different activities have been taking place. So this is really a incredibly rich and a beautiful area. We started here in Tela, which is a beach town, and then ended up in the capital of Tegucigalpa. There were two objectives for this particular time that we were there. One was to conduct this character education workshop for teachers in Tela, and the other one was to charter a new Y Service Club and officially pin members in Tegucigalpa. So as Ann Carol mentioned, you know, I could, it's like I came in and I could see the fruits of all the years of investment that had been put into Honduras and into that very special town of Tela. The administration, I think, has been so moved by the work that Ann Carol and her team has done there. So they were very open to having the teachers and the young people learn about character education as a means of being able to become a beautiful and model tourist city. So that was part of our objective. Yeah, so here's my experience in Tela. Again, it's a beautiful place. I learned that Honduras is the unofficial banana republic, the original, and you know, we had some beautiful wildlife around us. You know, I also, in traveling down, this was my first time traveling to a developing country. You know, there's a certain reputation, unfortunately, of Honduras not being the safest place because there is high violence and crime. And, you know, there's a beautiful murals painted around, especially in the city of Tela, because they do pride themselves in being one of the safest places in the country. And this says, you know, Tela, we love you, without fear, without violence. And so, you know, everybody has kind of gotten to a place, I believe, in that town to really be a peaceful and beautiful place and highlight, you know, the true Honduras. And part of the theme that we were running with in this 3-day workshop was the Honduran dream, coming to recognize that while the reality is, there are many peoples in Central America who are maybe looking at America thinking like, if we could just go to America or be like America, right? We can, really have all of our dreams come true. But actually, part of the purpose was empowering the teachers to recognize that, Honduras has so much to offer, and we want to be able to help instill the youth in being proud in their nation and being able to really make it the best place possible. So there were 75 teachers who attended over the 3 days, representing 100 schools. These are tiny schools, kind of like neighborhood schools, but it was wonderful to see the participation. We met with the superintendent of schools at the beginning when we first arrived, and the kind of second person in command, Carla, was with us the entire time representing the school district, and also she's a main member of this Y service group. So we wanted to help teachers to find ways that they could incorporate virtues education into their classrooms that was culturally relevant. And I think what was amazing about having Mario there, who is a native of Honduras, is that naturally in translating the material, he already inserted these elements that were culturally appropriate for the people there. So here are some pictures. This is Nerlin, who is Mario's daughter. And I know he was so proud of her to be a translator and to be a big part of this effort. And she was like my shining gem there. I'm very grateful to have met her and worked with her this time. We had discussions and Q&A. Here's one of the principals. There were a number of administrators that were present with us who were very excited. For those of you who might have been tracking this kind of experience, we had an initial Zoom call in August, and teachers who were part of that were very excited, and many of them returned and then brought their friends. We also had some role play. Here's a picture of our team. We also had some testimonies that were given. I shared about my own experience. I'm coming to learn more about character education, how it's evolved in the United States. As somebody who grew up in the 90s, and I'm learning that was something that was amazing for me to have. Especially, our movement has kind of caught wind of that service learning, character education. I felt that I had benefited in my life from that. And then working in some of our unificationist schools, I also see the impact that is having on our young people. Nerlin shared about her own experiences, especially traveling down to Paraguay, which was powerful. And Edgar was another native of the area who was so moved by this idea of the Honduran dream and really taking ownership for his surroundings. And I think what was so amazing about Aunt Carol's testimony was that, the teachers were impressed that she had these epiphanies and she had done so much work. But when they asked about her son, well, your 14-year-old son, what was his experience like? And then she shared about how actually, he continued to do the work on his own. And even with his wife, that they went out and spent their honeymoon in Guatemala, building a school. And I think it was like, to have this many years of kind of investment, it's so beautiful to see how it's manifested. And it's something that is just like irresistible. People want that. And they want to know how they can, also exemplify that. So this was the induction of Y service. So again, this was sort of like happening at the same time. But what's interesting about Y service is that many of these members are educators and community leaders in the town of Tella. So we're really hoping that they can kind of work together, that as Y service, initiates their service work, that actually can support teachers and give them an opportunity to have activities where they can get their kids involved in service learning experiences. We had awards given, gifts given, and it was amazing just in the few days that we were there how close we felt to these people that we had just known for such a short time, and to really see the open hearts and the beauty of the people of Honduras was something that has continued to have an effect on me since that time. Here's another picture of our entire team. Here's Edgar. He's the one who is a native of the city of Comayagua. And then here's Daniel Mohan, the North Jersey Y Service leader. Here is, we pinned the club members in the capital, Tegucigalpa. What's very cool is that this service group in one of the more recent hurricanes received some aid that the North Jersey group had collected, and then they went physically to the city of Tela and they supported them that way. So, it's just beautiful to see that there's collaboration that's happening, and real desire to support one another for this common purpose. So we did some sightseeing, and again, I came to learn more about the situation of Honduras. This green patch, Mario mentioned that one of the hardest things about about the country of Honduras is their susceptibility to natural disasters, and that need of those kinds of resources. So there's a lot of work obviously that needs to continue to be done with the country of Honduras and the neighboring countries, but we know, right, it starts from really being able to empower the people through character education and helping them to have experiences of really serving others and learning that way. So yeah, I included some pictures of art. This says education is the vaccine against violence. And I wanted to end my presentation with a special shout out to Nerlin and just a thank you for an amazing experience in Honduras. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mario and Mika, for bringing us a glimpse of the experience in Honduras. We have a few minutes for Q&A, and then we'll go into our last breakout discussion group. So again, if you will put your questions in the chat box area, then we can ask questions. Please note to whom you wish the question to be addressed. We have 5 minutes for our Q&A, so please quickly put your questions in. Any questions? Okay. One question from Mark. Is there a problem of violence in Honduras?
Well, I've been doing a service projects from 1995, and never we face any problem, even though we were doing most of our work in the capital city, where we have most of the situation that you can read in the internet. So I think if you are, even though there was one community in the end of the 80s, no, the 90s, yeah, that, no, sorry, that was in 2006, something like that. And that we went into this very tough community because we were going to build a kitchen soup. And then the gang, the gang people, this time, because it was a service for peace project, so the system was the community was how do you say hosting the volunteers. So we were sending 2 volunteers to every house in a very poor community, you know. And then most of them were part of gangs and these supposedly dangerous people, and they embrace us, they receive us, and they protect us. So if you are doing, and also it came out after this project, a magazine report, whose title was changing or turning hell in heaven. That was because the nickname that this community was given because of the gang situation was a little hell. That was the people was calling that. So we went there, and instead of receive opposition, we were braced, and the students, the volunteers went to these houses, and they were like you know, the boy and the kids of a house, they were saying, okay, I'm happy to offer my bed to you. So they were completely, so if you're doing good, if you're doing something for the sake of others, I don't know, but I'm telling you, from 1995, I'm making more than 50 projects, and nothing wrong has happened to us, to anybody, but still protection. I remember they were invited during those days because close by there is one concert stadium, so they were invited to these stadiums for a concert. And these guys, they took the walking because it was 2 blocks away. It was they put some people in the front and some people in the back and say, don't worry, you are protected by us. I hope this answered your question.
Carol?
Yeah, I think also the question of violence, I mean, our experience has not been to see violence, but actually if you Google what are the most violent nations of the world, Honduras comes down as the 2nd most violent, and it has been known as the murder capital of the world. So there is a problem of violence, and therefore many people leaving the country to come to the United States, but we have never experienced in our projects or anything like that, that kind of violence. You can disseminate the violence by really, as Mario says, caring for the people, caring for the city, and you know, respecting the people.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Any burning question? And if you hit on the reaction and raise your hand that way through the reaction button, I will be able to see you more quickly, I've been told, because you go to the front of the line of the pictures on my Zoom. Any question? Going once? Going twice? Oops. All right. We're going to go to our breakouts. So Pierre, if you can move us into our breakout sessions. Welcome back, everyone, as we draw our webinar to a close. Today was it's always exciting to hear from those who are working with teachers and students in the field of character education and service learning. You know, as Alan mentioned at the very beginning, we're seeing the issue of character education development brought to mind in some interesting forms more and more. He mentioned movies in particular. I'm a great movie buff. And I have movie review that'll be posted on the Unification Theological Seminary's blog site on Monday on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Because I was quite struck with the film, because I believe that one of its biggest messages, it deals with character issues, especially dealing with what I call Generation Gen Zs and millennials, and the need for the search among those two generations for something better, and especially dealing with the issues of love, forgiveness, revenge, as they deal with a new world. I also saw it to some degree in the new Avatar film. It really focuses on the new generation, not their parents' generation from the first film, as much as it deals with their own children and other children as they've now grown up. So it's quite interesting that more and more the films, Armageddon Time also deals with generation changing and dealing with our modern world and making use of it, even though it's a little bit different timing. But nonetheless, I think our modern films today are addressed in some of the new books out, non-fiction books, are dealing with the question of character in the younger generation, and are being written and directed by millennials, because they're asking these questions. So I think now is the time for the resurgence, even more so, of character education in various ways. And as Carol pointed out, service learning is certainly one of the most effective ways for service learning. I've always been a fan of that. That's why I introduced it into the agency that I still direct, the IRFF, the International Relief Friendship Foundation. I've been doing it down in Kentucky during the tornadoes. I'm gearing up now for Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and the tornadoes that just struck there this past week. Been doing it down in Florida now for the hurricanes that struck, Ian and the other hurricanes that went through there. We've been doing it in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and still there, and have been doing it still in Haiti after those two devastating earthquakes. So service learning, and through it all, the focus was not just on the service, but it was on learning, character development. So I hope that you found some takeaways today. And there's a lot more to be learned, I think, and to be brought out by other programs and other issues that we didn't even begin to touch on today by our speakers, because they only had so much time. So I'm hoping that you will continue to follow our webinars that we post as we look at the other issues also dealing with character education in terms of the growing challenges of mental health, family and marriage issues, our growing issues dealing not only with family dysfunctions and challenges, also our growing issues within the public school system, bullying, making good choices among our younger children in elementary schools. Even as we saw in the news this past week in America, in the Virginia school, with a 6-year-old boy taking a gun to school and shooting his teacher. If there isn't a character issue at the base of that, I don't know what is. These are big issues, along with the Florida issue, with their changes in terms of gender identity. These are all dealing with a wide range of character issues at its root. So I think the project that we're trying to work with Isaac and the Principled Academy is great. We're at the greatest time to begin with that program. So Alan, any
Yeah,
closing?
yes, thank you, Dr. Winings. Thanks all the presenters. Most of our email addresses are in the chat. Carol, if you could put your email address in there, people are interested in your presentation. There are a lot of other issues. I was asked also about conflict and resolution and prejudice. One of our premier programs in the Next Generation Academy was doing conflict resolution and bullying in high schools in California and Arizona. So there's a lot more that we didn't touch on today. There's only a certain amount of time that we can go into, but we will be doing other seminars. The next seminar is tentatively scheduled for March 18th, which will be on leadership. And we will be putting more and more information as per YouTube videos and webinars on the Principled Academy Institute. So please contact Isaac Durst, and I've already put my email in the chat there. You will get a recording from today, and thank you very much for all joining, and a special thanks to Pierre Beauregard, technician who put this whole program together. You don't normally see him or don't know him, and thank you very much, and we'll conclude there. Take